consider yourself being recorded from this point on. So let me share. Sorry, we have some issue here. Okay. It's okay. It's not November 10th, just for those of you who noticed that. It's February 2nd, Feast of the Presentation of the Lord. Okay, so the first thing I would like to talk to you about is why we are actually having this town hall, not because we promised you to have it, but there is a reason for that we should have it. Because last time we bombarded you with a number of different numbers and issues and there's something wrong I did here.
Right, just hit screen share.
I
Stop-
did.
No, stop sharing.
Okay, hold on.
Do
Okay,
it again. Screen share. And then you want to do, wait. No, which one do you want to share? You don't want to share that. You want to share,
desktop,
what is,
desktop.
okay, go ahead. Okay, that's good. That's it. Yeah, no, let me check. Hold on.
We need to check whether those who are online are seeing the right thing. It's good. Okay, so,
Can see.
okay, you can see?
Yeah.
Okay, so we are doing this because last time we spoke about so many different things, and obviously I did not want to give you all the, I gave you all the information. But still, we didn't go through certain steps that need to be looked at so that we would have a good understanding of where we are. So first, I'm going to update you where we are since last time, which actually not much happened, but there is some development that we engaged ourselves in. And what I really want to do with you tonight is the blue thing, which is called definition of benchmarks, because we spoke about what we need as a parish, and there is going to be a recap in a second. And then we will, if the time is going to allow us, we would also look at other issues. Those specifically that were suggested last time on the whiteboard, if you remember that. We noticed that, and I have it as a very last slide. All those remarks that were brought up. If we're going to have time about that to do that, I don't know. We'll look at that. That's the right. Okay. So just briefly a recap of last meeting. For those of you who have not seen it, unfortunately, our financial situation in the last 10 years has been decreasing rapidly. And that is why on the left side of your screen, all the numbers at the bottom are black. Left side. On the right side, you see that all the numbers are in red. And although the situation slightly changed 2.5 years ago, we started having more people coming to church. We started having slightly higher income than we had before, but we have not gone to the situation that we can say that we leveled off. We are still going down. And unfortunately, this winter, even this past summer, did not create a situation that we would be happy with, because the number of people that were attending our services was lower as compared to a year before. And obviously, if we have snows like this and weather like this, that always is going to hit us where it really hurts. So we are not going to go into all the numbers. Again, you can go into the last presentation and watch it yourself, but that's just to give you a background that this is what causes us to really take our situation very seriously. Or the same thing, and more graphically shown, you can see from 2016 to 2024 how the numbers were going down from almost $600,000 as a surplus up to $600,000 of debt of different kinds. Most of that is debt that was accrued years ago, and then unfortunately, because we did not have enough money to pay our bills, that is why we are going deeper and deeper into the debt. We are in the process of reconciling some of the debt with the diocese, but we may not be able to get a total forgiveness, for example, for last year. Because we didn't have money to pay insurance, that's where we are. I'm going to get into it in a second. So that's the background. So what can we do about the whole situation? Is there any way out? Is there any situation that we can engage and find something that would be advantageous to ourselves? So last time, and again, this is a recap, we shared with you that the city of New York has this program called the City of Yes. And you see, this is Jamaica, that's where we live, kind of larger picture. Usually alongside those main communication corridors, such as, for example, Merrick Boulevard and other major roads, the city wants to focus on developing housing of different kinds, because simply there is not enough places for people to live in New York. I'm not even going into the price of that, but so the city is trying to create incentives for different organizations, including nonprofits, so that we would have a special zoning and special permits to build more or even slightly more than it is allowed elsewhere. And what does it mean to us specifically? And now we are going into a more magnified situation. So now you see the same map, but only zoomed into the property of St. Benedict the More. The red circle shows exactly where we are. That's the corner of Merrick Boulevard and 110th Avenue. That's the property. You can see that the bump is exactly where we are, and the city has decided that our property is part of that special zoning that it has been established and adopted. Now, when it comes to St. Bonaventure, unfortunately, we kind of are missing that because St. Bonaventure is outside of the special zoning. Merrick Boulevard, as you can see, is there. That's the shaded area. But unfortunately, St. Bonaventure does not have the same privileges in terms of zoning for us to take any advantage of that. It's not of our making. This is how the city decided to simply zone the city based on their purpose, on their projections. Now, what does it mean? So specifically, what we shared with you last time is that we do have an idea, and what you're looking at right now is a satellite picture of Saint Benedict the More. You can see the blue dot that is showing actually the rectory. On the left side, you can see St. Benedict Hall, large building. On the right side, you can see the church, and of course, the two parking lots. You can see clearly Boulevard on the left and 172nd Street marked. So that's our property. So now, what is being suggested? Again, we'll get into it in a second, but what is the idea that we could do? I'm not saying we are going to do, we could do, is to, and you can see it right now, superimposed on the property, a proposed building of a housing complex the exact corner of Merrick and 110th Avenue, the edge of that is the L shaped. You can see it's 5 floors, and then deeper, you see it's 6 floors. So the edge of that is going to be 45 feet tall, and the rest of the building is going to be 55 feet tall. We estimated that we are talking about 100 apartments that will be located in that projected building. Now, what does it entail if we were to go with the project? Well, that means that our property is going to be a little bit different. And what we are thinking about, or what the proposal entails, is not to sell the land. That is not entertained at all. So what we are thinking about is to lease the land for the purpose of that building. And what it would look like is something like this. You can see that this is actually grass. I know it doesn't look like grass, but so the project would mean that we would demolish the existing rectory, the breezeway, and the garage, which is behind, and also you don't see that beautiful container over there that is adjacent to Saint Benedict Church. And one very important thing, we are not touching the church. Nothing is going to be done to the church except for one thing, because we are also planning, but at least the plan would mean that we would build a brand new parish center that would be attached to the building of the church. So the attachment would be the only one thing that we would do. But of course, we haven't gone that far. But the building would be designed to our needs. And obviously that wouldn't be given to us for free, but that is the option. We can think what we want, and we can build so that it would really serve our purposes properly. One more thing I want to show you. It's the same idea here, a little bit more graphically shown. So it's not with some dimensions over there. I do have printouts of that, and we've shared it with our community. Now, in terms of the specific numbers, what is being projected when it comes to this project? So as I said, it's a 6-story residential building, residential only, no commercial. So nothing else is happening there. But we do not know at this point what kind of residences these are. Whether it is affordable housing, senior housing, that it would be to determine. And that is an important thing, because as you can see in the 5th bullet down, that determines also parking. Because depending on what kind of a residences you have, then there is a required number of parking. With that, we just learned a few days ago that because this building is sitting on Merrick Boulevard, that doesn't even apply. Because there is different requirements if that building were to be built, let's say, outside of a major communication path, such as Merrick Boulevard. But because it's such a busy street, then the city is not actually pushing on those requirements, as you can see there. We just learned it a few days ago. I want to get to it in a second. And of course, we don't know even whether it would be done in the form of a outdoor parking or kind of garage. It would be underground. That is, again, something that hasn't been even touched upon. So the height 55 feet. Floor sizes 1 to 5 to 5th floor is 22, well, almost 23,000 square feet. 6th floor smaller because of that L-shaped corner. The total gross square feet 135,500 square feet. And again, as I said, it's a ground lease, not a sell. Nobody's talking about any selling of the property. It makes no sense. Actually, who would do that these days? I don't know, but we definitely wouldn't even consider that. So what we have received is a.
I'll call you when I get to your house.
Okay, baby. Okay, how do I do this?
So projected annual income for the parish is estimated between $400,000 and $500,000 a year. Every year. Moving on. So what would happen? So we again have a situation, and you see that at the top part of the slide, what would happen if we didn't do anything? It means that basically this fiscal year, which we as a parish end at the end of August, we would, just for this year, we would go into the red approximately $110,000 just this year. And an accrued debt that we have would basically be estimated approximately $675,500. And if we didn't do anything, next year it goes even deeper and deeper. You may be wondering, why is the number bigger? Because it's bigger because there are interests also associated with it. So it's not that we don't have to pay any interests, and that is the problem. So it gets bigger and bigger. So let's say at the end of basically at the end of August 2028, we would be hitting $1 million of a debt, considering the numbers that we have nowadays with the income and expenditures. We don't know what we don't know, because the markets can go many different ways, and it could be another 2008 or God knows what. But based on today's numbers, inflation and all of this, we would be hitting $1 million if we didn't do anything. Now, if we went with some kind of a real estate plan, then you see that the situation changes. Not only that we are getting out of the situation that we are now, but projected, of course, that is estimated, we would actually be hitting black at the end of 2027, 2028. Of course, it may go many different ways, but definitely we would reverse the situation. That's the bottom line, right? So having that in mind, that's basically what we spoke about last time. Malcolm went into details of all the numbers. Again, we don't want to repeat that because you can watch it. It was presented in detail, as I say, so that you would understand where certain numbers are coming from, and we know for sure that these numbers are correct. Now, so since last time, since we spoke on November 10th of 2025, what is new? What I've found, obviously, that many parishioners were shocked by that, by many different things, beginning with the financial situation. We did talk about it previously, but still some people maybe did not attend, or maybe they thought that the situation has changed. No, it's not changing in the direction that we would like to see that. And again, what can we do with the situation? How can we really do something so that we could be a little bit more optimistic about the future of St. Bonaventure St. Benedict the Moor? And with that, as we spoke about it last time, there were a number of other proposals suggested. And I am not closing any options to any other proposals. I mean, who says that we only have to go with one? If we have good proposals and good suggestions, we can actually work on several projects at the same time. If it's of course doable, if it's something that we could do. And some of you could have received or found or were given proposal done by Renee Hartwell, who suggested in her proposal that that project should be stopped until we get two other proposals, and then decision would be made. Again, we have not started this project yet. So that's not going anywhere. We are, as I put it here, so no decisions were made, none whatsoever. No voting of any kind has taken place. And the third thing, no documents were signed with anyone. So I want to be clear about this. So nothing is happening above your heads or behind your backs. That's why we have this town hall meeting, and that's why we had the previous one. Now, so why are we here tonight? And this is what I would really like to focus on. Because the idea came, okay, we can have other 2 projects or maybe even 3 projects. Okay, but we need to define what is a viable project. Because I don't want to get into a situation that somebody says, well, but it's a viable project, but somebody else says, no, it's not. So we have to determine what is viable, what is a good project? What is something that we could say, okay, that's worth looking into, versus other projects that may not hit certain benchmarks. That is the bottom line, right? And also at the same time, because in the proposal given by Renee Hartwell, she did not mention any time frame. She said we shouldn't do anything until we get 2 other proposals. But considering the time is not really working for us, we cannot sit another 3 years doing nothing because we may not have a parish by that time. So the time is of an essence as well. So the second thing, what I would like to discuss with you is also time frame. When should we make a decision? I'll get to it in a second too. And finally, how are we going to make the final decision as a parish? I'll get to it in detail in a second. And if we have time, we would then look into the other issues, as I mentioned earlier, those who were mentioned or written on the whiteboard, but then we'll see how we are working here time-wise. So let's go into the first one, into what would be a viable project, in my understanding. So as of today, when it comes to this year's budget, we need approximately $100,000 to pay all our bills, extra $100,000 to pay our bills, which we don't have, right? And it's not just this year, it's every year. And I don't want to scare you, but you know that almost everywhere you go, every year we go into, the prices are going up. We don't see affordability, right? Somebody has mentioned affordability. So that is going to be happening. We cannot just, even if you, well, that would have to be a really big lotto that you would have to win so that we would have, let's say, for years to come, enough money and not worry about that. Other than that, every single year, we need at least $100,000 just to pay our bills. Okay? Now, what it means also is we need that $100,000 to maintain the status quo, which means we are not hiring anybody else and we are not doing any projects of any kind because we don't have money for that. So we cannot dream about, I don't know, building or doing something, or let's pray that our boilers and stuff like this is going to work, because if it doesn't, then it's another expenditure that is above and beyond and adds to that $100,000. So $100,000 just to maintain the status quo. And at the same time, as you know, we need a maintenance guy. We don't have a maintenance guy. We don't. We have a janitor. But we do not have anyone, well, we have a volunteer basically that is doing certain works, but he's not being paid. I give him a little bit for gas, but he's not hired. We got a lot of things done already, but we need for that much of property. I mean, you have houses, there's always something to be done, right? And So not only do we need a maintenance guy, but we need some extra money for extra costs, extra expenditures that usually are coming our way. Plus, don't forget, it would be great for us to create some savings. Finally. So, in my estimates, that would mean that if we hired, let's say, maintenance guy, that's approximately $60,000, more or less, with taxes and all of this, right? And of course, it's part-time. We're not talking about full-time. Plus, so it's $60,000 plus a little bit of money left for any expenditures of any kind. So that would bring that $100,000 to $200,000. But if we really wanted to be more comfortable, we are talking $250,000 every year to function without sweating. I don't know what the bill for this winter is going to be, but that's going to be quite substantial. We know that, right? So if we were to have extra $200,000, that means that we would need every single week an extra income of $3,850. And if we were to increase that to $250,000, then on a weekly basis, we would have to have an additional income of $4,800. It's doubling what we raise through collections. So that's the reality. This is just the math. 200,000 divided by 52, that's the number, or 250 divided by 52, that's the number. That's the reality. So in my mind, any viable project would have to hit the mark of at least $200,000 every year. Unless it's let's say, a project that is on the side as an addition to something, right? But as something that would replace the real estate project, it would have to at least raise on annual basis $200,000, if not $250,000 every year as an extra income. Okay. Now, time frame now. So as you already know, time is of an essence, and with every single month and every single fiscal year, our debt is increasing. And with the interest is going to be increasing. So at the end of August this year, 2026, we will add another $100,000 to the debt. I mean, it's already in the making. It's already in the process. It's not that it's going to hit us on August 31st or 30th rather, that now, you know, it's all of a sudden $100,000 more. No, every single month, it actually grows and grows and grows. But on annual basis, that's what the increase is, plus interest. So if we did not do anything, and probably by September of this year, we won't have anything done, that the situation would be reversed or changed. It will reach $677,000 of debt in September of this year. It will. But if we did absolutely nothing for another fiscal year, then we are looking at $800,000 of a debt next year at the end of August 2027. That's just reality. So as you can see, the time is working against us. So we don't have the luxury of a time that we could sit and, well, let's talk about it, you know, maybe after Christmas or whatever.
Hi.
We don't have the time. So what I'm proposing as a
Tell
time,
them 10 o'clock.
what I'm proposing as a time frame is to have alternative viable projects submitted by the end of June of this year. That's a proposal, obviously. Because, I mean, then we get into budgeting for next year. We still haven't submitted our budget for this year, but they will start asking questions. What are you guys doing?
We meeting with them.
No, it wasn't. They had the town hall meeting and he's saying that they're going to the better.
So, we need to really focus on that. Now, moving on. So here's again something that I'm proposing. So we need, as a parish community, we need to make an initial decision, not detailed decision. Even when it comes to what we have proposed in terms of the shape of the building, the size of the building, all these decisions are later on. But what we need to do is eventually, by the time we hit summer, have a decision made whether we go with what project are we going for? Go, no go. Now, technically, for any decisions of that nature, two agreements or two votes are needed. One through the Pastoral Parish Council and the other one through the Financial Council. Both have to agree. But I am not opposing much bigger pool of people, because I know it's important to each and every one of us. So I am not just gonna say that just two selected few are gonna make a decision for everybody, because it may not be understood as a fair game. I get that. So if that's what the parish wants, we can go into referendum and decide as a parish community. What do we want based on those submitted projects and how we want to do that, right? Obviously, I didn't go through this in detail because I've been thinking about it, such as, for example, okay, what if we're going to be voting, if we're going to be having referendum as a parish? The question is, who's eligible to vote, right? Because if we went with the idea registered parishioners, a lot are going to be angry. Because I've been coming to the church for X number of years, I am not registered, but I'm definitely a member of the community. I get the point, right? So if we went into the referendum, there would be some issues. I'm not saying that these are issues that we don't know or we wouldn't know how to fix, but there will be some issues that there will be some answers needed so that the right one would be found. Alternatively, town hall voting, I don't know. I'm open to any situation. Well, right now we have, I don't know how many people, maybe not 20. Well, the weather is obviously an option, is a factor, but I'm open. So I am not determining in any sense, shape, or form how the decision is going to be made, but we have to start thinking about that. Right. And ideally, I think that we cannot walk into the new fiscal year, which is going to start in September, without having any decisions made, at least as a parish. Okay, what else? So what are we doing in the meantime? There's a few things going on. So far, all the information, so the size of the building, the numbers, the floors, and all of this is coming from one place. And it's called Rockland Properties. And this is a department of the Diocese of Brooklyn, which is overseeing a number of different things. But first and foremost, they are in charge. They are helping in the real estate capacity. For example, if you have a school building, they will help you to to have an agreement signed with the Department of Education. I worked with them at St. Joseph's because we are still, they are actually renting the tower for the cell phone towers that's inside of the tower. So they have lawyers, and the reason for that the institution, that department, is in existence, is that they want to make sure that the parishes are not going to lose on that. For example, when we were dealing with the issue of the cell phone towers, the question was, what's going to happen when you need to fix the roof? Right? So things like this, it has to be thoughtfully done. And they make sure that those details, and you know what's in the details, are actually advantageous to the parish. Because, and as one of them said to me, the truth of the matter is that not every single pastor reads what he signs. So they want to make sure that what's in the fine print is something that would be of advantage to the parish and not something that they would later on regret. So that's the reason that they exist. Obviously, they don't do it for free. Now, what is our attitude about this? And this is something that just very recently came into the picture. Because we think that if we are not at the table, we're going to be on the menu. So somebody else is going to be making decisions behind our backs, and that's something that we absolutely don't want to have. Now, what we are doing now is we are widening our aperture, because Rockland is one institution, and obviously they say certain things, but many of things that they might be saying, because they haven't really spoken to us since town hall. Many of the things might be brand new to us. I've never done anything of that nature. I don't know if you've done anything of that nature. There's many different things that even you've been asking about, the contracts and so on and so forth. So what we are trying to do is to talk to as many people as possible to educate ourselves about what this process would entail. What are the things that we should be paying attention to? And we already have gotten a number of feedback from our parishioners too, what to pay attention to. But the people that we recently met also made us aware of other things that we have not been aware of, and we know that the process is lengthy and it's complicated. So, for example, in the near future, we are planning a meeting with LISC, which is an institution that focuses on affordable housing. They have the whole thing. They have lawyers, they have architects, they have everybody, and we want to meet with them. Not that we would like to do business with them right away, but we want to learn from them. We want to learn what it means to go through the process, what is required, what should we be paying attention to, and so on and so forth. So the more information we get, the better for us, because the diocese may come and say, "Oh, that's good for you. That's good for you. Don't worry about that. That's going to be all right." No, 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 no. I don't want that. We want to look at every single thing, right? So that's our attitude, and so we want to learn and be. So it's supposed to be part of the entire process at every step of the way. So that's our attitude. If that is to, of course, come to fruition. And that is my last slide about the project. So now I'm going to open the floor for questions, and of course the online as well, so that if we still have time to those other issues, then we would do it separately. But any questions, I welcome them. If you want to ask a question online, you have to unmute yourself.
Hi, Father. Can you hear me? I was trying to raise my hand, but since no one's talking, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, this is Terry. I put in the chat, I just want a clarification because you kind of dropped. So by June of 2026, we need to make a decision. Is that what it is? Or if it's just gathering the ideas by that time? Like what's the date that we as a parish have to come up and say, okay, we need to make a decision on all of the ideas that we have viable.
So my proposal is to have June of this year as the deadline for submission of viable projects.
Submission of the projects, not
Yes.
the decision, submission. Okay,
Submission.
okay, that's what I wanted to know. Brianna wanted to know, when can we start if we do agree on the decision? She put that in the chat. So I don't know what she means by start. So Brianna, you can explain if you wanna.
Can you read it one more time?
She said, when can we start if we do agree on the decision? So I guess that means, when can we start with the project if we agree on a decision, whatever decision that is? I'm assuming that's what she means.
That's a loaded question.
I know.
Because we don't even know what the project are we going into, and that determines, the next steps. But definitely, if we were to go into real estate, we learned that this is a lengthy process because of so many different issues that are part of that. Actually, people that we met recently, they told us that one of the most beautiful things is that after all these talks and decisions and changes, when you finally walk into the building and touch what you've been talking about for a long time, this is the most rewarding thing for them. But they say it's a long way until that really is being concrete. So again, to answer Rayla's question, it depends on the project, what it's going to be.
Okay, Miss Sandy has a question in the chat, but before that, is it possible, because you mentioned viable several times, so is it possible to give everybody maybe a list of the bullet points of what the viable has to have in it, so that we're not just looking at, a bunch of just, ideas, like it has to have this, and this. It has to make sense, I guess, but to have some criteria to make it a viable proposal.
Yes, so as we did it after the last town hall meeting, we're gonna do the same thing this time. So on Sunday, you will see handouts in both churches for those who did not participate or those who would like to look at that and think about it. But so basically, the most important thing for us as the start is how much money that project can create. And if it's $200,000 or more annually, that's something that we can talk about. But it could be, again, don't get me wrong, it could be a situation that we have two projects that they together have capacity to create God knows what, right? But as a project by itself, I think it's. So in other words, I'm open to receive any project of any amount, because we can do them as well, if they are not exclusive. But if there is no project that creates enough income for our parish that will be satisfactory, then it's not going to be in existence as a one singular project or maybe project moving forward.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Sandy, are you going to ask your question, or you want me to ask your question?
I guess I could read it. Hi,
Oh,
folks.
all right, good, thank you.
Father, at the last town hall, I thought, if I heard correctly, that when you talked about the type of building they were gonna put up, that we, the parishioners, got to choose whether it was a senior apartment complex or a regular one, that type of thing. But I believe if I heard you earlier say that we are waiting to hear from them as to what type of building they're gonna put.
It's probably what they're gonna, well, we don't know who they are. But we just learned.
I can't, your voice is too far away, Father. It sounds like you're in a tunnel.
Sorry, now you can hear me better, I think.
Yes, thank
Yes.
you.
Sorry, too. So we just learned it recently that all of that is to be determined by us. We have most to say. We even spoke about naming that building. It could be called whatever we decide. Let's say we will call it Saint Benedict the More Housing Complex or Plaza or whatever. We can be creative about that. If we decide that this is what we want, that's what we're going to go for. So initially, when I received that proposal from Rockland Properties, and that's what I described to you, it was kind of open-ended, right? It spoke about this kind of housing, that kind of housing, and then the different types of parking. So it also is for us to decide what we want. That may slightly change the game, but it's ultimately what we want. We even spoke about the money. And again, but these are the questions and answers that are going to be given much, much later in time. Because we can include whatever we want. For example, we can include that whoever is building the apartment complex has to build our parish center. That also can be included. Or we want to get the money upfront for the whole year. It also can be included. So again, it's up to us to create what we are the biggest stakeholder in that game. And if we want something that is going to be agreed upon, or somebody else is going to take it. So we have the most to say, or demand. But again, these kinds of decisions are much, much later.
Excuse me, Father.
Yes.
This is Anne Marie. How involved would the diocese be in this situation? What would they play in this scenario? Say, for example, we want to go forward with this project or any project. Would we have to get any type of permission from them, or what would their involvement be at this point?
Thank you for the question, because it's a very good one and at the same time, very loaded one. So the diocese would have to approve our project, but based on the initial information that we've been given, they would be gladly approving our project, at least when with what we are hearing at this point, because that solves everybody's problem.
Right.
Now, the other part to it, and that's something that I don't know what the answer might be, is that let's say we say, okay, thank you, Rockland, but we want to go with somebody else. And that I don't know how that's going to work. But at least at this point in the game, we are educating ourselves who are other partners that we can talk to. Because to be honest with you, we did have a meeting with Allen AME.
Okay.
And they are interested in working with us.
Oh.
So we are kind of widening our scope of. We're going to have a number of other meetings that we're going to take part of, because we want to learn what is available, and based on what is available, we're going to take the best path for ourselves.
Exactly.
And Alan told us that if they were to be working with us, they would be very happy to put St. Benedict the Moor Housing Complex or whatever the name of that would be, right? So they respect that. But again, we listen, we ask questions, we thank them for the presence, we shake their hands, but we don't sign anything. So nothing
Yeah.
is being decided on.
Or Father, would Alan be able to, would Alan want to be a part of this in terms of leasing the land as well? Would they be, is that a part of their interest in our project?
As a preliminary, I mean, preliminary, we just had one meeting with them.
Oh,
But they, yes,
what are they up to?
they
I
are
wanna know.
interested, and they said that we would be very flexible
Okay.
when it comes to working with you, meaning us.
Mhm.
And some use of facilities, I think there was being mentioned, Malcolm, right? Yes, so they said that even we could use some of the facilities. So they are very, very open to anything that may come along, because they've learned it through many different projects that they've been involved, and also they know that what is important to all of us,
Mhm.
how we relate to the community at large.
Yes, yes. And they have gone through that before
Oh,
with
yes.
a few of their buildings. So
Yes.
they would be able to give real good advice and so on and so forth. I was just wondering if they wanted to be part of the lease, or they wanted to lease it, or I just wanted to know what. Well, I guess maybe down the road, as you meet further, you will get more information from them as to what part they would want to play in this project, I
Yeah.
imagine. Mhm. Okay. Okay, Father, thank you.
Annette. Yeah, exactly. LIIC. List, it's an organization. There's another one that is kind of a comprehensive organization that works specifically in the area of affordable housing. And they have a one-stop shop, so you can do everything with them because they have architects, they have lawyers, they have community people. This is the largest organization that deals with that nationwide. Didn't say nationwide, right? Nationwide. And we are actually scheduling a meeting with them to learn about the process and listen to what they have to say. There's another organization we also going to be talking to. So we are engaging ourselves to learn more. So far, we only had one meeting that Malcolm and myself were part of. Well, Jackie was supposed to be with us, but unfortunately, Jackie, and we greet Jackie. I know that she's on with us online from the hospital. So far we are just the three of us. We've been part of that one first meeting. Yeah.
Father Chris, Deacon here. Is there any chance of getting these companies to come in and make a presentation to us so we can hear directly from them?
Deacon, hold on, because Annette keeps asking. You can't hear her. Yeah.
I'm sorry.
I'll let you know.
Okay.
So then what I want to find out, so now, that 13%, or maybe the first collection, does the guys get the $400,000? Are they getting part of 13% of that?
I will have to, the question was whether we are going to be taxed the 13% of the income for the land lease. And the answer to that is I don't know, because the diocese has different percentages based on different real estate projects. For example, if you lease a school building to the Department of Education, the tax is basically they take 2 months of your income from that, So I can tell you that St. Joseph's is leasing the building to the Board of Ed. They receive every month $36,000. So 2 months are being taken by the diocese in the form of what it's called St. Elizabeth and Seton Fund. And that fund goes to support Catholic education, the grammar schools, but also goes into salaries of the education department of the diocese. So that's basically 2 months out of it. I don't know how much that would be in this particular, but I can ask the question. Yeah, of course. There's definitely going to be something. We're not going to get it tax-free, but I would say better have some income than no income. Well, maintenance people take a lot of money. They cost a lot. Again, I haven't hired anyone for quite some time in terms of the maintenance, but I can tell you that the maintenance gentleman who was in the beginning working with me at St. Joseph's, he was making the most money of all of us. The question was, do we need to bring plumber and electrician? In certain cases, you do, because not everything can be done by maintenance guy. So yeah, sometimes you need specialists. But Deacon had a question. Deacon.
Yes, okay. Father, I just wanted to know if was there any possibility of having these companies come in with their proposal and just make a presentation so we can hear exactly what their proposal is directly from them?
We can arrange that. But before that would happen, they have to know what is the situation.
Yes.
They have to prepare a proposal. It cannot
Yes.
be delivered at spot. So we can obviously, yeah, we can ask them to come and make a presentation of it. Yes, absolutely.
Okay, great. Thank you.
I don't see any more questions.
Father Chris, you have two questions in the chat. One from Sean. She said, in what way would Alan be working with us? They've wanted to level us and create a parking lot for years.
Again, that is a question. It's a good question, but we only had one meeting with them. We told them what do we want, and what we said was that we wanted, if that is something that we chose to do, we wanted to lease the land for apartment building. So that was being discussed, but not in the form of any particular projects. And of course, again, what would be the most crucial in all of that is how the agreement is being formed. Because if we form in the agreement that this is not going to be parking lot or whatever, then they cannot simply single-handedly do that. On the other hand, don't forget that the very reason this is being something that is viable is not parking area, but it is the city of yes zoning. So from the parking, you're not going to be getting as much, if any, income versus you create apartments, and then you can count on any substantial income, and in some cases it might be even income covered by certain grants from the government. So that further strengthens your financial condition. But we did not talk about any parking or any of it whatsoever, no. But again, we would determine what we want, whether it's Alan or anybody else. Malcolm?
Yes, sir. Okay. Just want to be clear with the meeting that we had with the developers. The purpose of the meeting was not for Alan to really actively participate at this point. The purpose of the meeting was to get an understanding of the process. Right? It's not about Alan to come here and do anything. They may want to get involved, but if they do get involved, it'd be one of many. So the main purpose of that meeting was to get an understanding, trying the learning curve, learn from them. They did not come to the meeting with the idea that they're going to do a lease with us. The whole purpose was just for us to gain an understanding on how this works, so we can make the best decision. If we go to a block in that sense, we can go to come to the table to them and give them our ideas instead of just listening to them. So that's the purpose of the meeting. So I don't want folks to get the idea that Alan's coming in, they're going to take over. That's not the deal. And they didn't even propose that night. They was very open that they would support us as far as giving information. They said it's a very complicated process. They would be open to provide support, but there's no commitment to them, and they're aware of that.
And then once we make a decision to say, all right, we want to go with the real estate way, building some type of housing, we're gonna get that is gonna attract different developers. So there will be other people who will be coming on board and making proposals, not just Alan or so and so. And then, if we go that way, based on that, our decision to make the housing, we will get different proposals from other developers that would, want to, take on this project. So, we can look forward to that if that's the way we want to go with the, and I mean, because, real estate is the deal. Nothing else. I don't see anything else that can really help us out of this hole that we are in, this debt, so to speak. So, that's something to think about. That's all. If we don't have another way of getting us out of our debt. But, that's a real good way.
The other thing that was being mentioned in the meeting is that it was kind of interestingly said. They said it's easy to build a building. The construction, that's the easy part. But to go through all the details and agreement and all, this is the hard part. When it comes to that's the easy one. So that's why we are paying attention to that part, because once we're going to get to construction, that's going to be the easiest of all. But we need to know what to pay attention to, what are the trepidations, what we need to be educated about the process. That's why we are doing this. Because we don't want to then say, oops, we didn't know about that. Right? So that's why we're meeting with people, we are listening, we're asking questions as to which way to go. We even asked the question whether, because I don't know whether you know, but Alan has a separate company that does that. So it's differently structured. It's still kind of under the umbrella of Alan when it comes to the, let's say, some kind of a motto or the overarching faith and values that they uphold. But the arm that is responsible for development is a separate corporation. But we were told that we don't need it because most likely we won't be engaging in buying properties and and then doing projects of that nature, but we are asking, that's why we are educating ourselves as much as we can at this point. Question in the chat?
There's one more question in the chat from Polita. If the diocese knows that we are planning this to get out of debt and this goes through, what is the likelihood of the diocese not forgiving our debt, even though they should, and waiting for us to be in the green to claim funds?
I don't know the answer to that question. Until we finally sit down and discuss it, because I would say there are two different reasons we are in debt. One, which is, I call it the original reason, what was happening after Father Gordon left, right? And how the money was being spent, overspent, and so on and so forth. And then the second part of that was just simply the aftermath. When people left, there was no income, money was gone. Then how are you to function, right? So I don't know how we're gonna look at that. We're gonna ask for the total forgiveness because they were complicit. They knew what was going on and they decided not to do anything. So I think we have grounds to ask for total forgiveness. But if that's gonna be given to us, I don't know. On the other hand, regardless of that situation, I think that it's extremely crucial for us because they can, as we spoke about it last time at the town hall meeting, they can ask what kind of idea do you have? Do you want to go deeper into the red? Do you have anything going on? Because we just see that you go deeper and deeper and deeper. Yeah, maybe we are co-responsible, but if we were to eliminate our debt right now, we still wouldn't be able to pay our bills. So that's unless we change that situation, because we haven't really plateaued yet. And then and they can do it single-handedly, because don't forget, I know it's painful to even think this way. Saint Bonaventure, Saint Benedict the More exists as a separate corporation from the Diocese of Brooklyn. But the CEO, the president, is the bishop. The vice president is vicar general. And I am the secretary. So they obviously can outvote me at any time. And I'm afraid that if we don't do things in the right way, and we say that, no, we have something brewing, we have project here, this is the projection, we are going the right direction, and then we have an answer to the most crucial question about our property and financial situation.
So, Father,
Yes.
so Father, can we then ask the diocese to commit to a forgiveness before we move on to this project?
We can ask.
Yeah, this way at least we know whatever we get, they're not going to commit, go in and say, well, okay, you got it, now let me get my share.
We can ask.
If we get a commitment before the project, then we know, well, okay, they're not going to touch it.
But again, I think that goes both ways. And again, I don't know, I'm just brainstorming right now. They can say, okay, we can promise you partial, if not total, forgiveness, but you give us project that is gonna, or something that tells us that you are getting out of your financial situation. So show me yours, I show you mine, kind of, right? Tete-a-tete, like. It could be. I don't know. I've never been in a situation like this, but that's what just came to my mind.
Did they give us the forgiveness of $300,000?
Not that I know of. No. I know that there was money, and somebody has to correct me. I know that there was money donated by Christ the King, Father Gordon, years ago. I don't remember when it was. I don't know, Malcolm, if you know, and how much was that? Twenty 2021. Hmm. You probably didn't hear it online because I had a hard time even hearing it here. So there was 2021, and that was directed to pay our bills. Do you remember the amount? 200? 296,000, of course. So almost $300,000. Okay, that's gonna be easy.
Yeah, so it was almost 300,000, and I believe it's 2021.
I can repeat it. I can repeat it. Keep going.
Okay, and the stipulation was it be used against the outstanding bills at the time? But not all of that money was used to pay down the bills.
Okay.
So some was, and the rest, we're not sure where.
So Malcolm said that it was almost $300,000. The idea was to pay our bills, but in reality, not all of that was paid toward bills. Some of that was used for other purposes.
And to be clear, that was during Gillian's time.
And that was during Father Jeffrey Dillon.
Father, can you speak on, because I know this is still an open question about looking at opportunities at St. Bonaventure as well as St. Benedict's?
So the question was opportunities at St. Bonaventure. I mean, we did bring this up even during our last meeting, which means that we are not closed-minded. The problem with that is that the zoning, basically. Zoning is the issue. Here, because of the city of Yes, we have different opportunities. So to put it this way, we wouldn't be able, even if we wanted to, we wouldn't be able to do the same project or project of a similar size, scope at St. Bonaventure because the zoning does not allow us to do that. Excuse me? We could lease land, Lynette says, we could lease land at St. Bonaventure, yes. To build probably family house or maybe 2 family houses. We could look at this, yes. Yeah, I'm not saying no. I don't know who's first. Renee. Good evening.
Good evening, everyone. I just wanted them to be able to hear me.
Yeah, so come closer, come closer.
Get closer? Okay, good evening, everyone. Yeah, that's kind of my question. And I'm sorry for being a little late. I was working. Just the opportunity to look at both sites, as you know, that was my proposal. And just because St. Bonaventure is not zoned for the city of Yes, it is zoned for real estate, real estate, real land. And so there are different opportunities because of course the city of Yes is just something new. That gives certain communities an opportunity to build on their already established places of land, whatever. So I just want to make sure that we just don't stay stuck in the city of Yes, that's all. And I'd like to make sure that, you know, or propose that we just be open to possibilities. Okay?
Yeah.
And that's it. Thank you.
No, not yet.
So my question is, where at Bonaventure would we be leasing the land that we can't lease? We would have to sell. No,
I
it
don't
was
know.
looked into, when we sold the property before. I don't know why the people that were here before, that were here then is not saying anything. You cannot lease that land, it has to be sold.
I don't know if, if the land can't be leased,
But
if
I'm
it has to
asking
be
you-
sold, that
But I'm
I
asking
don't
where?
know.
But I'm asking where?
Well,
We're gonna sell a parking
yeah.
lot?
Let me finish.
Okay.
So Shaniqua is asking where it could be at St. Bonaventure. So obviously we have not had a discussion about it yet, but from the logical standpoint, that would be the area where the grotto is, because we need to have some parking, right? That is clear. Whether we would cut some of the parking, probably, possibly, so from one street to another. That's the only one area that I can think of.
And probably, it's just about keeping an open mind. I don't think we have to come up with the answer tonight. You know, I don't think we have to debate about, space. You know, it's just keeping an open mind and exploring.
Yeah.
That's what we want to do, right?
Yeah.
Can I say something?
That's what we want to do. Thank
Yes.
you.
Yes,
Thank you.
agreed. Sean,
Yeah, I think that's where the miscommunication or where the disconnect is for a lot of people is we seem to be, I guess we need clarification on um a few things, right? Because okay, it's kind of like there's a couple of points, right? Number one, we don't know if we're going to get the debt forgiveness yet or not. We haven't quite fully explored that. That is a huge variable. That really gives us direction into, you know, what our next step is going to be. We also know that we need to clean some things up, right? In the sense that let's say our debt is forgiven, let's say we create a new source of income where we're able to sustain our bills and we're able to not just sustain our bills but grow and build and be financially secure, financially stable as a parish. I think a lot of things would need to happen in order for that to happen. I know if they say if it ain't broke, don't fix it, but something is broken if we were able to get into this level of debt. There's some checks and balances that need to occur. Also, we need to ask ourselves and ask the parishioners, are we locked into just City of Yes, or are we open to all suggestions? Are we open to everything, regardless of, are we only looking for a certain number in terms of, because Father, you know that you and I have spoken about the possibility of repairing and then renting out the rectory, things of that nature. Um, you know, just really thinking out the box. Even when I was reading the history of Saint Benedict on Sunday and them selling cars or doing certain things in order to get to the next step, there's a lot of ways that we can raise funds. But if we're locked into, we want to raise $400,000, or if there's a certain number that we're looking for and we're not really considering other options, I think that needs to be expressed to the parishioners so that they're not suggesting um so they're not making other suggestions that are not really going to be considered, because they don't quantify in comparison to the City of Yes proposal. That needs to be communicated so that the parishioners even know what quote unquote viable solutions they can suggest. Um, We need to fix our tithing issue. We need to fix, like, there's so many things that even if we fix this problem, we could potentially end up right back where we were because we're not cleaning up. That's it, I'm done.
You're right, Sean, yeah. I need to go to the first slide, hold on.
Father Chris, Miss
This
Paulita has
one,
a question in the chat.
hold on, I cannot do two things at the same time. I'm sorry. Oh, the viable thing. Okay, here it is.
It's said that we have 100,000 needed every year. We need to maintenance guy, roughly 200,000. That's not a number from the sky. That's current. So I think we need to know this number, and it's in front of us. It's not a guess, it's in front of us. And you said you'd give a list of what viable projects are.
Well, to me, right now, the biggest issue is because obviously Sean was right. We need to fix a number of things, such as tithing, registration, and even our missionary outreach that we don't do, because as you probably have noticed, we have less and less people in our church. Right? Which is a big issue. But in terms of making us financially viable, that is probably the number one point in terms of making any project viable, because this is what we are pressed by the time. Right? Because if let's say at the end of this calendar year, the bishop calls me and says, what's the situation? Are you working on something economically? And said, no, but we improved our registration, right? That's not the right thing. We need to first, it's like when the rain is coming upon your head, first you have to fix the roof, right? So that is really of utmost importance, because I don't want us to be here sometime later, and I'm going to have a bad news for you. The bishop says that he is closing one of our locations because we don't have enough even to fill up one church. I mean, I don't know, but God forbid that this is about to happen. So if we don't take into our hands the most important thing, you know the rest of the sentence. And it doesn't exclude all the other projects that we do have to work on, yes.
I just want to kind of say, why don't we call on Rockland to come to Bonaventure and do what they do and evaluate what's there, what can be leased. Can it be leased? Does it have to be sold? So to have them do that work.
I can do that. I'm going to tell you what they told us when they came.
Bonaventure.
Well, they checked Bonaventure, but they were more interested in Benedict because of the city of yes, right? So we sat down, and what they told me was this: Father, do you want to sell Bonaventure altogether and just move the whole thing to Benedict? Because that's what we would suggest. That's what they said.
So why haven't we pursued?
Why? I don't know why, but She later on explained by saying that St. Benedict location is better in terms of getting new people, right? Because we are right on the major track. If you don't know that there is a church at St. Bonaventure, you may never see that because it's a quiet residential area, so to speak, right? And you may not, stumble upon it. And here you may be going on the bus or something that, oh, right? It's right here. So that's why she was suggesting to sell Bonaventure completely and move to Benedict. But of course, I said, no, we can't do that.
Is there any part that we can lease?
Well, that is a question that we can ask. I didn't ask the question. Listen, year ago, we didn't have this conversation altogether. So we just started having those talks because, they came with all these issues. So I'm not saying no, but we haven't really asked those questions yet. But we can.
Because there was a proposal about the rectory from an organization that does housing for homeless college students who are working. And as they did their examination of the rectory building and everything, they withdrew that project because they said it would take too much money to renovate.
Yes,
So that project dropped.
yeah, they dropped it. Yeah, there were supposed to be previously incarcerated women living here at the rectory, attending St. John's University. But they dropped the project because they looked at the expenses and it was way too much money going into it.
This is Malcolm again. Just get back to the point on what's a viable project. So Father has up here at least 200 or 250,000 a year. So that's every year. I just need to be clear on that. That's not a one-shot deal. We're also, I would say any ideas is time bound, right? Because each year we're losing more and more money. We only have about 150,000 in the bank. The insurance bill itself is 80,000. So if we pay that, that's half of our savings. So it's not that we just come up with a project and say, like Sister just mentioned with the rectory, even if that was a go, it would take a while to get that up and running. So we need to get involved with something that's going to generate income relatively quickly, which is one of the biggest advantages of the lease deal. Because the lease deal, if you lease the land, you don't have to wait for them to build the property. Once the lease is signed, the money starts coming in. So we can sign a lease deal. It's up to the developer to actually build whatever he's going to build. So, which is a good situation for us, right? Because we get the money from the day the contract is signed, as opposed to other projects. For example, the rectory here, you have someone come in, they got to fix up the rectory, that's going to take time. Each year we're falling behind more and more and more and more, right? Again, we only have 150,000 in the bank. Our insurance bill is almost half of that. It's actually more than half of that, right? So if we pay that, we're basically wiped out. So we need a viable project. It needs to be something that's going to generate at least this 250 a year. It needs to be consistent every year, and it needs to be time bound, something that could be done relatively quickly.
Let me check the chat. Not that, oh, here it is. Polita is asking a question. If the diocese knows that we are planning this to get out of debt and this goes through, what's the likelihood of the diocese not forgiving our debt, even though they should in a way? Okay, all right. Okay.
Father,
Yes.
this is Jackie.
Hi, Jackie.
Hi, how you doing?
I can't, I'm sitting here because I'm in a loud place, but, my other question was, okay, if we, let's say we try to lease or sell, the grotto land or something in Bonaventure, will we be able to get anything back? Like if in the proposed plan, if we lease the land at Benedict, we're losing that part of the land within the lease, but we're gaining a new Paris Center. Would something like that be able to happen at Bonaventure? If we decide, if that's an option, would we just be losing just so that we can do something at both sites, or we'll be able to gain something like we're gaining if the proposed plan happens at Benedict?
What I would like to propose is to table that discussion about Bonaventure, because we are asking questions, including myself. We've never asked anyone about this. We are uneducated as to what can be done and what could be the advantage of it at St. Bonaventure, which I think that we should start asking questions about. But at this time, I don't know what to answer because I don't know. So it's way too preliminary. But that's a good question, good point, that you were making, Polita. Jackie wanted to say something. Jackie.
Yeah, I just wanted to say something quickly, and I'm listening to the conversation, and I kind of hear where thoughts are going. Want to be very clear, and I think Malcolm spoke very well about it, is the meeting that we have and we will continue to have with other organizations, Greater Jamaica Development, all the organizations that can come and perhaps bring us something. And if they can't bring us something, they will educate us on the project. One of the things that Harold Flake said, and really, I think is something that we should really think about. This is brand new for everyone. We don't know where we're going to go. And let's just go a step further. We don't even know if the diocese will sign off on it. So we still don't have that commitment. So we are absolutely putting the cart before the horse. One of what we should be doing now as leaders of our parish and members of our parish, collecting whatever information we can have so that when we sit around the table with the quote unquote big boys, they can't pull the wool over our shoulder because we've educated ourselves. So that's really what that was all about. But Harold Flake made a comment and he said, why my father was so successful. He said, because when he walked into the meeting with Lisk or any of the other big development companies, when he put his package on the table, it was correct and in line. And that's what we are trying to do. We don't have any idea at this point whether the bishop is going to put away, forgive our debt. They didn't forgive it before. So I'm going on the contact that they're not going to forgive it now. That's what's in my head. But I don't want to lose my church. And I know that if we don't do something, and Project 2032 has given us a area to be able to save our church and save our property. And aside from the affordable housing or the senior housing, no one decides on that. We're going to collect information and find out whether affordable housing or senior housing is better suited for our purpose, that it will work out the best for us. So there's a lot of things out there that I'm listening to everyone talking, about this one or that one. We are doing this to save our churches. That's number one. And number two, the opportunity that we have to rebuild Saint Benedict the Moor, because to me that is something that we can't rebuild. Blacks got together and worked and brought this church together. Aside from getting a cash flow to help us to stay above water, we can also have an opportunity, and it will take time, to build that site into a black history Catholic church for the community, which perhaps we're struggling with our parishioners and bringing folks in. And a lot of times we are going to struggle because we also see the flavor that is happening in Southeast Queens. Not that many blacks moving in. We have a big influx of Muslims and others. So we have to look at everything when we do this. You know, everybody would love for things to stay as they are, but unfortunately, we don't have that deal handed to us. We have to do something, and I think whatever we do has to be absolutely brought in by the members of our parish, St. Bonaventure and St. Benedict. But we need to put our heads online and understand this is not a choice that we have. This is something we have to do if we want to continue to have our church. And that's what I have to say. And again, for folks who think that we're out here making decisions, all we're doing is trying to replicate Ford Flake. When we walk in and sit our package down in front of the diocese, they can say, oh, they know what they were doing. And that's what we're trying to do. We're not making decision of what we're going to do. We don't even know what we have to do. We're collecting information. That's all that we're doing and trying to educate ourselves. We even talked about trying to put another committee together that could help us go through these things as a group. This is a big project that we have in front of us. And it's also a life and death project for our community. So I think we should be trying to row this boat in the same place, and everybody can, we can tweak whatever we need to tweak. But this is not about, well, I want to keep my church. This is about how can I keep my church? Okay, and that note, I'll say good night. And I'll take any questions if anybody has any questions.
Thank you, Jackie. We are slowly but surely reaching the 9 p.m. So obviously we are not going to get into those other issues that were suggested at our last town hall meeting, but we keep them. Obviously, they're not going away. So at this point, I think that I'm trying to sum up what was being said, and obviously the meeting was here to focus on establishing certain benchmarks, such as what is a viable project, the time frame for us, and so on and so forth. Because these are the most important questions. The other ones, they're gonna come later on, and we have time for that, if they even come in front of us. So I don't know when the next town hall is going to happen. Once we have some new pieces of information or development, there's gonna be no development, but if we have more pieces of information, then we will call it a town hall meeting, and we will inform you as I promised you. All of what we do is being, yeah. We are not keeping anything, behind some kind of inside some kind of a safe. It's all, that's the only one tool that is gonna work for our community. And that's why I believe in those town hall meetings. Even if sometimes they're painful to go through, because as Jackie just said, it's a life or death situation in the sense. So I don't know when the next one is going to happen. Again, in a few seconds, we're gonna be closing down this recording. We will upload it on our website so you can again watch it, or those who didn't watch it could watch it. We will have handouts in church, so that you could see the bullets, I mean, the slides or the other things that we presented, as we did it last time. And let's just keep the conversation going. I'm grateful for all the suggestions, even if they exceeded what we thought of. That's why it's so great. That's what DEI is all about, right? Diversity, right? So you learn something that you didn't think about from other people. But some people don't believe that anymore, right? Anyway, so before we wrap it up, there's one
Father
more thing.
Chris,
Yes,
I'm sorry, I had one more question.
and
Um,
Shani also raised hand, but go ahead, Bolita.
you can go first. I couldn't see it on my screen. You want me to go? Or go ahead, Shawnee.
Sorry, I just, I, I'll speak for myself. A lot of when Alan AME was mentioned, and I do appreciate what Miss Jackie said. I know that we are just um, trying to have conversations. I know we are trying to receive all the information that we can and just educate ourselves in terms of the new project. And I can understand that. I also, um, there were like bells that rang within me when Alan AME was mentioned, only because I remember Allen AME Cathedral was built in 1997. I remember that is prior to the Bonaventure Benedict merge, and I do remember them being very interested in our land because, of course, it's amazing. It's prime real estate. It's right there on the corner. Um, I guess my question is, on the finance committee, are there and I apologize for not knowing this, but are there members of the St. Benedict the Moor site um, on the financial committee that would know something like that? That would know, okay, we're having a meeting with someone that's been interested in our land for decades, so we're kind of putting ourselves a little bit in a vulnerable space, in a sense, or at least that's how I understand it. What the same way PPC is constructed, where there's members from both sites, is it the same way? Where they're evenly distributed members from both sites on the finance committee?
I guess so. We have John, who is right now with us. Uh, and we also have Abdel, who is from Saint Benedict, if that can be said. We have Malcolm, we have Debbie, who am I missing? And Jackie. So that's who's sitting on the financial council. Okay, before we wrap it up with the final blessing, I have one more,
Wait,
oh,
I have a question.
Julia, you want to say something? Sorry.
Yes, I just wanted to know, at the last meeting, I think it was the last meeting, or it could have been after, I proposed, going back to the layout of the plan. I don't know if this was, addressed later again, but instead of the L shape that's in the layout of the plan, are we in a position where we can design, I guess, that L and make it more of a rectangle where we can possibly reclaim some of the land, like reclaim the rectory and also a walkway from Merrick into leading to St. Benedict. Because it's like, that whole center space in the middle is open, where it seems like, we don't really need that. Why does it have to be an L? So I don't know if that was brought up or a chance to bring that up or not, but I know I had mentioned it.
The
That was
short answer to your question is yes. The longer answer to your question is yes, but not at this time, because these are the more detailed issues, right? That's later on, whether it's going to be this size or that size, whether it's a passage from this side, or these are much later position questions, which we can decide upon when the time comes for that. But as of now, we are way too far from that to be discussed. But yes.
But we do have the option to do that, though.
We have the option to.
Okay.
Again, we have the most to say. If we decide that we want to have a passage from Merrick to the church, if we decide that that's what we want, that's what they're going to do. That's our land.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Okay, I'm just wrapping up, so there's no more questions. Before we wrap it up with the final blessing at 9, I have one more piece of information to share with you. That the diocese has effectively closed down the case against Angela Lewis. The case has been closed down, dismissed. It's no longer going on. So that's a public thing. It's over. Yeah, we got the paperwork that's been signed, approved. It's done and done. Or as they say, the case is moved. Okay. So let's wrap it up with the prayer. In the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit, amen. Almighty God, we give you thanks for this community, for each and every one of us, for the fact that you created us, brothers and sisters, that you allowed us to love you and love each other, that you gave us also this parish where we've been worshiping your name for generations. We are asking for your continuing blessing for ourselves, especially those among us who need your special blessing, those who are in hospitals, those who are in nursing homes, those who cannot participate with us on a regular basis. Bless also those who are suffering through the elements this winter season, and make us grow as a community, as your disciples, as those who follow in your footsteps, when it's easy, but also when it's hard. And may your holy blessing descend upon us tonight, the blessing of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen. Thank you very much. Have a good night. See you soon. God bless.
Good night, everyone.
Good night. Everybody get home
Night.
safely.